Today, I'm going to make cream puffs.
I had to find a recipe that works like magic and is as easy as Mashle make it look like.
After many failures and hours of research, I finally found the way to make them.
So for my experiment of getting the perfect recipe for cream puffs, I decided to make a regular one, a big one, but I couldn't stop just at normal cream puffs. So I had to try and make giant cream puffs. So let's start with the choux pastry for the puffs.
Here are all the ingredients we're going to need. So here you have two options.
If you want them to have a more golden brown color, use half milk, half water. But if you want them to have a lighter color like the ones of Marshall, or at least how I think the ones of Marshall look, use just water.
In a pot, pour the water, sugar, and salt. Mix it together and it goes to the stove on medium heat. In goes the butter and let it melt. Once you see it starts foaming, lower the temperature to minimum. Now it's time to add the flour and start stirring. Here is important to not stop stirring. On this step, you're cooking the mixture and also reducing the liquids. This is important for the puffs to puff up once you're baking them. You can stop stirring when the mixture is ready. And how to know if the mixture is ready? Well, you have two steps. Watch it stop sticking to the pot, and most importantly, watch that it leaves a film on the bottom of the pot. Take it out of the heat and let it cool for 10 minutes.
I will use this time to prepare the eggs. Crack the eggs into a measuring cup.
This cup is perfect to have some control over how much egg you're going to pour into the batter. After the 10 minutes have passed, transfer the batter to another bowl. It's better to use a tall one.
Because if you use a smaller one, well, everything can get messy pretty quickly, I know for experience, so try using a tall bowl.
Add the eggs little by little.
I didn't film this part because I found out later, but it's better if you scramble the eggs before you beat them up a little bit, because that way you can really make sure you're using small amounts of the egg and don't get the butter to have a consistency you don't want. The part of adding the eggs is completely essential for the choux pastry because you have to look for the perfect amount of egg and consistency for the batter.
So keep adding a little bit of egg at a time until you have a batter that slowly slides off the bitters and leave a V shape just like this. You have to check for that V shape.
You have to be extra careful on the amount of egg you add to the batter, because if you add too much egg, it will get liquid and the puffs will never puff up. And also, trying to fix it is really hard and you practically will need to start all over again. So my suggestion is to really be careful on the amount of egg you add, because if you add too little, you can always add more egg, but if you add too much, well, you have to start over.
Once the batter is ready, it's time to put it on a tray to bake them.
Here you have two options: using a piping bag or using a spoon. For this recipe in particular, I prefer to use only the spoon because I found out that it gives that puffy animal look like the one on Mashle. So for this recipe in particular, I prefer to only use the spoon and not the piping bag. For the regular size cream puff, that is a bite size, you will have to put 1 spoon of the butter into the tray. For the Mashle big cream puff, you will need to put 2 tablespoons on the tray for each cream puff. And for the giant one, you will need to add 5 tablespoons on the tray for each cream puff.
To smooth it out a little bit, wet your fingertip with water and get rid of any peak or to make it a little bit more rounder.
Now they are ready to go to the oven. So, the baking part is really important for the cream puffs. And after many attempts and failures of making them, I found out that the best way is by a gradual baking. So this gradual baking is to start at a high temperature and after some minutes lowering, and after more minutes lowering a little bit more until you have a much lower temperature. So I made a chart for the temperature and time for each size of cream puff that I will be showing you. For the regular size cream puff, this is the chart. For the big cream puff, here is your chart. And for the giant cream puff, here is the chart.
This part is extremely important because if the temperature is too low, the puff will get flattened, and if the temperature is too high, it will burn and also get flat. I know because I tried making the giant cream puff a lot of times.
Remember to never open the oven until they are fully baked, because if you do, they will flatten out and it will be a really big mess. While our puffs are baking, I'm going to make the filling. For the filling, I have two favorite options, which are whipped cream and pastry cream. The whipped cream is easier to make, and I already made it for my previous cream puff video. And if you want a step-by-step on how to make the whipped cream, you can check it on that video that I will leave somewhere right there. But for this video, I decided to make pastry cream that I promise is also very easy to make and delicious.
Take a pot and pour the milk and the vanilla extract. It goes to the stove on medium heat.
While the milk is warming up, while the cream is warming, I can say it. Mientras se calienta, okay? Spanish time, because I can say it. While the milk is warming up, yeah, perfect.
Separate the yolk from the egg whites of 6 eggs. You will only need the yolk, and if you don't know what to make with the egg whites, you can always make delicious fluffy angel cake, just like the one I made for my digital circus video. But if you don't want to watch that video, it's okay, but make the angel cake. It's really good. With the yolk goes the sugar and the cornstarch. Beat them until they start rising and getting a pretty yellow pastel color. When they look fluffy and creamy yellow, it's time to add the milk little by little while still beating. This will help to temper the eggs and avoid having chunks of scrambled egg in our cream, because having egg with the cream is really disgusting. Once you have mixed all of the milk, pour the mixture back to the pot and take it to the stove on medium heat. Stir the mixture until it starts to get thicker. For me, it took about 5 minutes, but I suggest to check the consistency and not the time. It has to be thicker and a little bit creamy, just like this. Take it out of the stove and add 1 tablespoon of cold butter. This will cool it off and make it shiny. Then it's ready to transfer it to another bowl. I personally like to sift it because it makes it easier to get rid of any chunk, and also it makes it smoother and extra creamy. Now I will cover it with plastic wrap, making sure the plastic wrap touches the cream. This will help to avoid having a crust on top of the cream.
Now we put it on the fridge for 1 hour or until it feels cool to the touch. Now we're back to the puffs. When they have cooled off on the oven, you can take them out and leave them on room temperature for another 5 to 10 minutes. Once our cream and puffs are ready, we can put them together.
First, I will cut the puffs open, and look at that, they are perfectly hollow inside, just like me. Finally, it's time to add the cream. To fill them up, you can use a piping bag, and that will help to have a neater finish. But to be honest with you, I'm kind of lazy, so I will fill them with a spoon. And there you have it, all the cream puffs on Mashle. We have the regular cream puff, the big cream puff, and finally the giant cream puff.
To be honest, making the giant cream puff took me 7 tries, and it was really difficult. So if you try it out sometime, I would love to know how it went.
They all look really cute and they taste absolutely delicious. If you like the video, don't forget to give me a like and also subscribe to watch more recipes for unreal foods.